Welcome everyone in Nigeria and the rest of the world. I am Gimba Umar and this is State of the Nation. Right behind me, data feeds are still coming through all in one place simultaneously. Be part of the show, tweet at Gimba Umar CTV and use the hashtag State of the Nation to air your thoughts. Should the president prepare for defeat in the 2019 general elections? We have just 308 days to February 16, 2019 to know if that's a fact. But that's the advice from the PDP and a court party AP in Oyo State, saying that the president's declaration to run has brightened their chances. I'm now being joined from our Abuja studios by Joan Umrakpo from Delta State. She is indeed a member of the House of Representatives. Also with me here in the studio is Liboris Oshoma. He is a lawyer. I want to thank you both for coming on the show at this time. Let's begin with you in Abuja. This declaration of the president to contest in 2019's general elections has thrown up so many reactions. Constitutionally, he is not wrong in contesting. What then is the challenge for the opposition PDP, who have strongly rejected Buhari's stance, to contest in 2019?
Good evening, Gimba. Good evening, Nigerians. The president has a right, it is his constitutional right, to run for a second term in office. But one looking at Mr. President himself, looking at discussions before now, discussions and statements of, obvious statements of fact from Mr. President, one would begin to bother as to why Mr. President would want to run for a second term in office. Take 2011, Mr. President did say that age was no longer an advantage to him. And we moved on to 2015. He had the same opinion. He was concerned about his age. Having been concerned about his age in 2011, and you have additional 8 years to 2011, when Mr. President will be approaching 80, those initial concerns, what would you say had happened to them? That is one. Gimba, if you take what has been happening, Mr. President again has been very concerned about policies and directives that have come out in the course of his 3 years governance. We're always preview to issues of, oh, I wouldn't want to go into details now, but the issues of, I wasn't aware this happened. I wasn't aware that directive came. I wasn't aware that directive wasn't carried out. If Mr. President seems not to be aware of so many things, one, because of frequent absence, you could imagine. Secondly, because of maybe age. We all pray to grow old, so there's nothing wrong in being old. There's nothing wrong in once in a while having health challenges. It's part of normal life. But if a man knows that his health challenge is a challenge to the office he holds, the moral question will then be, what is there for the man to still seek to continue to hold that position? And my opinion just brought in here very quickly, just so I can get some questions, other questions through. Now, although we did invite, just to get a balanced report, we did invite an APC apologist to be on the show, but unfortunately he is unable to make it up to this time. While hoping that we will be able to get through to him, but he has indeed called to cancel his inability to make the show. But you have the PDP, you have the person of Alhaji Atiku Abubakar, who was declared to run for the #1 seat, effectively making him the biggest challenger to this time to President Muhammadu Buhari. Do you see this splitting the votes between President Buhari and whoever emerges, for instance? Let's say that we see some other persons come out for the PDP after the primaries. Do you see this splitting the votes of the North? Gilbert, I wouldn't want to talk about PDP primaries and who will eventually emerge because we haven't reached that stage, and the party hasn't briefed us as to those that are contesting for the seat of the president, the presidency. I wouldn't want to go into details as to what person the PDP will be throwing up to challenge Mr. President. But like I said, my concern is that the governance of a country like Nigeria, just I think 2-3 days ago, we heard that we're about now close to 200 million, about 198. My concern is that if a man has factually put before Nigerians his position, his health condition, his challenges as to the governance of Nigeria, it is not it's not a party affair. It's not a party issue. It's about the father of the nation. Is he still capable of leading the people? Regardless, now when we get to the bridge as to how PDP will take over, because I'm sure we will do take over.
Come in, if you don't mind. But let me get your own views to this. Do you stand with her?
No, I share completely, different view. This advice, this unsolicited advice from her to Mr. President is belated. She's a honorable member of the House of Rep. She's a member of a political party. What I expect them to be doing now is not to be advising Mr. President. A lot of people have advised, and Mr. President had looked at himself and said, look, I am still capable of standing for election, and if I win for the next 4 years.
Despite the letter that President Obasanjo wrote to him?
Exactly. In spite of all of, there's nothing she would say that former President Obasanjo didn't say. There's nothing anybody can say. The man has declared. So what the opposition need to be doing now is to put their acts together and see, let's also begin to assess their candidates. Because the APC, for all we know, like it or not, might likely present Mr. President as the candidate. It is belated now to be advising Mr. President not to contest, he's old, and all of those. No.
But this is
if you don't want him...
This is what we know. 6 northerners may likely run.
Likely.
Yes. For the number 1 seat, Atiku Abubakar, also inclusive. Kaduna State Governor Nasir El-Rufai.
These are speculations.
2-time Governor of Jigawa State, Sule Lamido, he's also made his intentions known. 2-time Governor of Kano State and current Senator Rabiu Kwankwaso, he's also made his intention known.
In 2015,
names like Aminu Bello Mazari of Katsina State.
In 2014,
former presidential hopeful Nuhu Ribadu also. So what do you think that the APC will have in this case when we're having internal rankings?
All of these are conjecture. None of these persons had come out to say, I am interested. Do you know that in 2014 to 2015, the run-up to the election, when the APC were merging...
Even though some of them came out in the papers, in the dailies, that they're running
none had come out, apart from Atiku, none had categorically come out to say, I am interested. Like I said, in 2014 run-up to 2015 election, when the APC were merging, we knew that President Muhammadu Buhari, then General Muhammadu Buhari, was going to be a candidate. And so the discussions were already around him and some contenders. And so let the opposition put their house together now that they know, in spite of all the advice, that they know that Buhari is a candidate. Who are the likely candidates? Let's begin to interact with them. What are you going to do differently? And not to say, oh, Mr. President is old, Mr. President cannot,
let me get the views.
78, and, these are belated.
Let me get to Abuja and talk to Joan. Joan, now, security, according to the PDP, is one very important area to look at when you look at the performance of the present administration in the build-up to the 2019 general elections. Will this government be faulted in terms of the achievements it has with regards to security?
Yeah, Gimba, it's very difficult to find the achievement of this government and security inclusive. And like my brother said there, the concern as to who will take over from the president is not a concern at all with the PDP. That's why I said when we get to the bridge, we'll cross it, we'll have capable hands, and we're very sure that we're going to take over. But part of the challenge we have is what we have today, where you cannot categorically say this is the achievement of this particular government. Yes, take the issue of security. We have often been told that, Boko Haram has been defeated, it's been technically defeated, they have been pursued, they are just trying to rattle, and all kinds of adjectives. But again, like we woke up to the surprise of the same APC government wanting to take $1 billion from the coffers of this already weakened economy to pursue the same Boko Haram, the same defeated people. So the concerns are numerous. But if you take one of them, I was reading the stories and what has been happening between the DSS and the EFCC, the chairman, and one begins to wonder, how would we have succeeded with the security system of Nigeria when the security apparatus, the agencies, are on each other? They do not see reasons to work together. The only thing that is common is how would Mr. A pull Mr. B down? We have allegations and various allegations, counter allegations, DSS versus EFCC. The position of DSS, for instance, when I was growing up, they were known as SSS. And then they were everywhere and not obvious. They were able to collect intelligence reports, and security system, the security of the nation was more guided, safeguarded as it were then. But today, you could see that nobody is in charge because everybody wants to be in charge and nobody is in charge. So the security system, as we have it, you will agree with me, today is 35 persons here, 300 persons here. I saw in Edo State where they dropped the corpse of a pastor that was killed by herdsmen by the government house. Believing that the governor is not doing anything.
I'm going to have to put you on pause for a minute or two because when we return, we'll also be looking at some further security concerns. Senator Eyinaya Abaribe has said that he is not comfortable with some of the comments that Mr. President made concerning the farmer herders clashes and the herdsmen in particular, saying that they were trained and armed by the former leader of Libya, Muammar Gaddafi. We're going to take that in just a moment. Join us again.